Hey everyone, welcome to Walking with the Tenku, the podcast where we explore strange and beautiful ways philosophy crashes into martial arts practice. I'm your host, Matthew. Grab your water bottle, maybe stretch out a little, because we're about to spend the next few minutes unpacking one of the most elegant puzzles in the philosophy of language, Frege's puzzle, and seeing how it shows up every single day on the mats when we talk about technique names. So let's start with the puzzle itself. Back in 1892, the German philosopher and logician Gottlob Frege published an article called On Sense and Reference. And in it, he drops this deceptively simple problem that still keeps some of us up at night. Take two names that refer to exactly the same object. A classic example would be Hesperus and Phosphorus. Both are ancient names for the planet Venus. Hesperus as the evening star and Phosphorus as the morning star. For a long time, people didn't realize they were looking at the same planet. Then astronomy figures it out, and suddenly the statement, Hesperus is Phosphorus, becomes actually informative. It's news. It's a discovery. However, consider the sentence, Hesperus is Hesperus. That's trivially true. It's an identity statement where both sides name the exact same thing, but it tells us nothing new. It's empty, boring. Yet, if meaning were only about what the names refer to, the referent, the actual planet Venus, then Hesperus is Phosphorus and Hesperus is Hesperus should feel cognitively identical, but they don't. One enlightens, the other is a waste of breath. Frege's solution, meaning, has two layers. There's reference, the thing out there in the world the word picks out, and there's sense, the mode of presentation, the way the object is given to our minds, the descriptive or conceptual content wrapped around the name. Same referent, different senses, which equals different cognitive value. Okay, now let's bring this into our training. Sometime in the last few years, I noticed something. In BJJ, we sometimes have multiple names for the same thing. The first place I noticed it was a submission that I already knew by a few names, Americana or Paintbrush, an arm lock submission. I vaguely knew that in Judo, it's called a Gyaku Udegarami, but then I had people at my gym calling it a figure 4 or key lock, which got me thinking, why do we have so many names for the same move? This works internally to a martial art and also when cross-training. Okay, applying this to Frege's puzzle to moves within an art. If I say a paintbrush submission is an Americana, key lock, or figure 4, that can be useful, especially to a new student. However, if I say a paintbrush submission is a paintbrush submission, it doesn't really help anything. Likewise, when cross-training, if I say that base is root, that might be helpful to someone cross-training, but if I say root is root or base is base, that's not useful. So then I started noticing that there were different methods used for naming things. Sometimes it was due to the person who made it famous in BJJ, like the Udegarami, also known as the Kimura, in BJJ, because of Masahiko Kimura using it to submit Helio Gracie nearly a century ago. This was not really a helpful method, calling the move Kimura, unless one had knowledge of the history of BJJ. Sometimes it was for a defining characteristic, like the motion of the back of the hand, air quotes, painting the mat, being why we call it a paintbrush. This was a more helpful method because it recalls the movement of the technique for the student. Essentially what it came down to was most moves in BJJ had a name in Japanese, Portuguese, and several in English. And these days I joke that to be fluent in BJJ jargon, you need to learn the move in 3 different languages and California hippie. That's so you can talk to the 10th Planet crowd. It's all rather confusing and ultimately unhelpful to the new practitioner. In martial arts, the exact same physical technique, same body mechanics, same kinetic chain, same effect on an opponent, often goes by multiple names across styles, schools, eras, and cultures. The referent is identical, the movement itself, but the sense, the mental framing, the associated cues, the philosophical flavor, the training context, those change dramatically. Let me give you the punchiest example, literally. Consider a straight, rear hand punch thrown with hip rotation, shoulder extension, and a sharp snap at the end. In traditional Shotokan karate, this is Gyakuzuki, the reverse punch. When you hear Gyakuzuki, your brain immediately loads a whole package. Zenkutsu Dachi stance, Hikite pullback, Kime focus, linear power delivered from a stable base, often practiced in Kihan Waza or in kata. The sense is precision, spirit, one decisive technique. Yet in Western boxing, that same biomechanical action is the cross, or straight right for orthodox fighters. The sense here is entirely different. It's embedded in footwork, head movement, slipping, combination chaining. Cross evokes speed, timing, closing distance after a jab, ending fights. No deep stance, no dramatic kime shout, just economical violence. In Muay Thai, you'll see basically the same rear straight referred to as the cross too, or sometimes just part of the basic mat trong straight punch toolkit. But the sense includes clinch entries, leg check setups, elbow follow-ups, the whole 8-weapon ecosystem. It's attrition warfare. The physical referent, rear fist traveling straight, hips and shoulders turning, weight shifting forward, is the same punch. Yet saying Gyakutsuki is the boxing cross can be genuinely revelatory for someone who's only trained in one style. It's the martial arts version of Hesperus is phosphorus. Suddenly, the mental map expands. Oh, I've been drilling the same core motion, but with completely different tactical clothing. And notice how the informative power works in reverse, too. If a karateka says Gyakuzuki is just a cross, a purist, they might bristle. Not because the referent is wrong, but because the sense feels diminished. The karate sense carries lineage, discipline, Budo spirit. Stripping that away to just a boxing cross, that feels reductive, even if mechanically accurate. This pattern repeats everywhere. Take the armbar, or juji katami. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sense, positional control from guard or mount, figure 4 grip, hip escape prevention, finishing with an arch and squeeze. It's sport, it's competition, it's leverage hierarchies. With a traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu or Judo sense, the armbar might emphasize standing variations or quick control in a self-defense context. Juji Katami, or its proper full name, Ude Hishiki Juji Katami, carries the Olympic Judo flavor of clean, high-amplitude throws leading into a ground submission. Even in catch wrestling or old-school submission grappling, the same elbow hyperextension might be framed as a wrist lock to arm crank, with a gritty, no-rules feel. It's the same referent: isolate elbow, extend against the joint line. Different senses, different intentions, different emotional weight, different drilling priorities. Or consider the low kick to the thigh. In Muay Thai, the classic low kick: chop with the shin, repeat until the leg folds, pure attrition. Kyokushin Karate, a Gedan Mawashi Geri: chamber high, whip around, retract fast, condition the shin through repeated bone-on-bone contact. The sense includes full contact toughness, knockdown power. But then it's in Savate, that's French kickboxing, a fouet de bas, more circular, whip-like, often delivered with the shoe's edge for slashing effect. Elegant distance management. Again, the same referent. Tibia contacts lateral thigh, disrupts base and mobility. Wildly different senses. And this is why Frege matters to martial artists. Technique names aren't neutral labels. They're sense carriers. They shape how we visualize the move in our heads, what cues we emphasize in training, how we feel when we land, even how we teach it. When you cross-train and someone says, "Hey, that's just like our Gyakutsuki," the little jolt of recognition you feel is the Fregean aha. Same reference, newly equated senses. The puzzle explains why that moment is exciting, why it deepens your understanding, and why some practitioners resist it so hard. Their sense of the technique is so intertwined with their identity, their lineage, their hours on the mat, that equating it to another style's name, it can feel like erasure. So the next time you're in class and this instructor renames something you've known for years, or you watch a different style and think, wait, that's our move, pause, maybe smile. You're living Frege's distinction in real time. The referent is the technique itself, stripped to physics. The sense is everything human we layer on top: culture, history, intention, emotion, strategy. Both matter. Neither is dispensable. That's it for today's episode. If this topic sparks something for you, maybe a favorite same move, different name story, drop it in the comments or shoot me a message. I'd love to hear what equivalent experiences you've discovered on your own journey. Until next time, keep training, keep thinking, and remember, every name is a lens.